together. We didn't know where to find everything. You know, so we also celebrating the spirit of the bushwoman. We right now I've commissioned an artist in Arena, a guy called Hayden Pamphil. The painting on the front cover of the newspaper, Eddie Herbston, he's the person with that painting. And I've commissioned him to do a series of paintings on the theme of the bushwoman. Okay? Many of these bushwomen are the ones who taught me a lot of what I know, and they're the ones who have inspired me over the years and who continue to encourage me as I go on in what I'm doing. Herbs is a pioneering organization, and for those of you who may have seen like Little House on the Prairies, for instance, may appreciate that pioneering situations are not necessarily easy situations. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of long hours. Art Herbs is very much like that, you know. It's just over 7 years since I've been in business, and it's been 7 years of very, very hard work. I think in several respects, the work of the organization is now beginning to bear fruit in the context of activities like these, and several of the activities I've had over the past year. Many of these, the things I'm doing right now are ideas which I had in mind when I started business, but which for one reason or the other I was never quite able to get on with. And this year I decided that however it may turn out, whatever the circumstance may be, I'm just going to go ahead and have these workshops and these other activities. So last Independence I had a workshop at ASA, right? And I mentioned that at that workshop that I was sowing a seed in the Caribbean soil in the context of creating this greater awareness. And in many respects, I think that over the past year, over the past 13 months or so, a lot has transpired, which has given me encouragement. I wish that there were more women here this morning who would have been able to benefit from the workshop. But there's a little story behind that which I should share with you all, and which would put some of the morning's activity into context. I guess in trying to get you to me something we have had very difficult getting this lady here this morning. You see? Right, so told me she was trying to get me on 3 or 4 or 5 occasions. Was that a common experience? What happened when you tried to contact me?
I was always busy.
I was always busy. What was your experience?
Also, I have to say, if I did leave a message, I got a call back very promptly, but sometimes you don't get somebody to talk to one time.
Yeah. Okay. What was your experience?
I called them and I came to you and remember it.
And what happened after? You don't have to say it now. If you want to, if you want to, you're free to say it, but you don't have to. It's up to you. Anyhow, you came once, you didn't come back. Whatever you're here now. How did you find the workshop on?
How did I find out about it?
Yeah.
By the newspaper, and I emailed you. It was very easy to get in touch with you.
You got a response to the email?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, you emailed me.
Okay. Okay. What about you?
See,
What's the same?
newspaper, newspaper.
And did anyone contact you, or you had any contact with anyone?
Yes, after several times.
Okay. And what about you here?
I had no problem. I saw you out in the paper. I called yesterday
Yeah.
and everything.
You called and said you got a prompt response. Okay. What about you?
In the papers. I didn't follow it.
Okay. Right. And before I go further, maybe I should ask you all if you also wish to. I didn't have any name tags, so if you so wish, you can give your name, and if you so wish, right? Everything is up to you, really. Give your name and probably say a little about yourself.
My name is Lisa Ganesh. As I said, I saw the ad in the paper, I was very interested because I have a myomectomy, which is, I have fibroid, and I had a myomectomy for a few years. In any event, I'm always interested in health, good health, and things related. And I was a vegetarian for several years, not anymore. I was interested in these things. Then I saw about the ad in the paper. I wanted to come, and I'm here.
You want to say something? I thought I saw your hand in the air.
What was up?
Oh,
My
okay.
name is Marilyn Wilson. Basically, last night a friend called me, and showed me the ad in the papers. Because she and I always have this problem with belly pain and everything. Well, basically what in the papers the woman in it, it's the same thing I go through. Get Karen by doctor and so something that probably an infection and tablets something and I have one serious medicine and I don't know, I went to the Portsmouth General Hospital, they said my ultrasound, the ultrasound is showing nothing. One doctor in the hospital then referred me to some doctor, some name to go to get a paper to go and get a test of my tooth, which I went and take a pap smear, and the doctor there gave me a paper to go and I went and take it and made sure where my tooths are black, and the ultrasound, I take a next ultrasound down a place in St. James and it showed I have polycystic ovaries. So basically, still hard at that which I took up this morning.
Okay, so you came essentially because you had a personal concern which you thought needed some attention. Likewise.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Doctor charging is 6,500
For the
operation.
correctly polycystic ovaries. Okay. Anyone else?
My name is Ramya. I have a problem with endometriosis.
No, you don't have to say the problem is. It's up to you. Yeah.
I just have tried a lot of medication through the regular doctors and all the tests and treatment, and which didn't work. So when I saw the ad, I saw it highlighted as one of the specific problems that would be dealt with. I thought, I would be interested since nothing else seemed to have worked before. But I'm definitely interested in trying the herbs.
Okay.
My name is Jenny Erickson. I'm a student from the United States down here working on a master's thesis in medical anthropology, and I saw the article in the newspaper and really found a lot of interest in it. I've been meeting with different herbalists, different bush doctors, and I thought that this really could probably pull together a lot of things for me, a greater understanding of the herbs itself and the usage of them, and the reasons behind them.
Anyone else?
My name is Ron. I live in a woman's hospital.
In a woman's hospital? That's right.
Right.
Okay, I didn't know we had women's hospitals here. Maternity units? Okay.
But it's not only maternity patients, we have gynae, we have patients.
No, what is it called? What is it called? That's what it's called now? Okay. Right. So you're alone. Right. If you want, you can just give me a name to me. You don't have to give.
I'm Sylvester.
That's Sylvester. You know what she's saying about yourself, right?
I'm just interested in the
Okay.
personal.
Okay. And we have. What's your name?
Yeah, but
Right. You're just Deborah, right?
yes.
Okay. You wish to say anything else?
Just have an interest in it. I don't have any known problem.
Okay.
I just, have a keen interest in herbs, alternative to the normal,
Yeah.
traditional items.
Okay. All right. What has transpired is that for the past week at least, the phone has been ringing almost off the hook. I can say from like about 6 in the morning until about 10 in the night, literally. So what has been happening is that it's like I have someone supposed to be there to answer the calls and all of that, and while they're taking a call or two, when they finish, they have to play like about 10 or 12 messages. So that has been the scenario over the past week. I have one line. Basically, is literally on strike to all intents and purposes. So all I've been trying to get some additional lines in service that I think will help out. Then, at the shop, I have been going home like 10 in the night as well because people have been coming in. Literally, like, from the time the doors are open in the morning, people have been coming in. Hoping to get some attention because people are coming in problems which we may have had for 10, 15 years in some instances. In fact, in some instances, I've had women with problems like for 23 years and have not had solutions to them. And so literally, the shop has been quite busy. To the extent that I have had almost little time for myself. I mean, not even shave, as you can see, right? These have been my average day for the past. My average day for the past week has been like from 5 in the morning until like 1 the next morning, right? So with just one line, I haven't been able to actually have the calls returned as I didn't expect such an avalanche of phone calls. I mean, the testimonial I used with the couple who got pregnant, I used the picture. I mean, I kind of half expected that it was going to cause a certain amount of problems. But what transpired was that I know there's a certain amount of skepticism, notwithstanding the fact that I've been running all these testimonials over the past year, almost the entire year. There have been skepticism in the context that people have been saying these things and saying, anybody can write these things and make them up, you know? And, you know, so people would come to see me and I would say, okay, well, if you were to get better, if you were to get success in what you're using, would you be so willing to, or would you be so kind as to give me a testimonial with a photograph so that I can actually put something on the paper that people can see it? Well, there is something, these people actually read, you know? And of course, being a very private matter as it is, most women, I mean, don't really want that kind of exposure. In fact, I felt a young woman, the couple were quite daring in many respects, you know, because I mean, literally, what has happened to them since that has happened is that they come like everybody in the river now suddenly know them. They look river, like everybody's stopping them and you know wanting if they could get some medicine and you know that's sort of scenario. So the fact of the matter, I mean, if I'm just judged by the number of phone calls I've been receiving over the past week, and if I have to also consider that, I mean, I've been seeing people for the entire year with these problems. I'm talking about like from 8 or 7 in the morning when I open until like close in the evening. I mean, some evenings I actually have to tell people, listen, I can't see anyone. I have other things that must be attended to. So it's a kind of scenario I'm dealing with where I have had very, very little time for myself. Right? In fact, some of the books I have on display here, I actually left for America for a few days to get some of these books, to make sure the books were here in time for the workshop. And I went to an organization called the American Botanical Council. And it was my hope, I took all my book with me, all my notes with me, so it was my hope that when I go to America, I'd have a little free space in the night to put some documents together for this workshop, you know, because I've been doing it, but at the same time I haven't had a chance to pull things together in the way that I would like to. So I was hoping to have a book actually, not in a hardcover, but at least a complete compilation of information for you all at this workshop this morning. And that isn't available. And I don't make any promises as to when it will be available because I think in many respects I have kind of created a situation which is larger than me in many respects, and actually larger than me in that I've always been aware that, you know, lots of women have had problems like this. I had a similar workshop, not in Holiday Inn, just at my offices in the room. I had a similar workshop in October 1996 because I realized that there were big problems with women in terms of reproductive health especially. And well, it was a different time factor, there were many different scenarios involved when I had a workshop, you know. But I knew at the time that the workshop was needed, and it didn't quite work out for reasons that the timing was off just by about 2 weeks, and I knew that, you know. I had advertised Easter Right in December. No, I had advertised a workshop for Easter Right in the Center in August. But what happens? The Ministry of Health is presently looking at the regularization of the herbal industry in terms of the legislation. And I am a member of the committee. I am always representing the interests of traditional healers. No, that was postponed because the Ministry of Health's meeting was scheduled for the same day, and I only got short notice of it. And most people found East Side was too far, as a matter of fact. Experiences.
I would say about
15 minutes.
Why I don't have a problem with my gynecologist sharing information or giving information. I think the problem in my particular situation is that he just doesn't know what else to do.
Right, okay.
Right, it's like now you're just fishing. So
okay.
you know, you try this, if it doesn't work, okay, we're gonna try this.
Okay.
And this, I mean, there isn't very much left that I could get from
Okay,
him
so
at
you
this
kind
time.
of at your wit's end. Anyone else? Are you a nurse, doctor? What's your...
But from my experience,
Mhm.
some things they don't ask.
Well, that too.
They don't
That,
ask.
well, so if you have to ask, you
They
have to,
don't ask.
if you have to ask a question, you have to be
After
informed.
the doctor,
Yeah.
then they'll come and ask you, so what is this and that? And you
Yeah.
tell me this, what
Mhm.
they don't ask the doctor.
Okay, what is your profession? You're a nurse, right? Okay.
If they go to the doctor, what treatment you get? I get an injection and sometimes what injection for? I don't know.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
think a lot of patients.
Huh? What's that?
The clients.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
I think a lot of actually clients.
Artificial respiratory. Yeah,
Because
but...
if I go to a doctor and I don't like his manner, I'm not going back to him, the other doctor.
Okay, now, were you a...
I'm not going to stay there.
Okay, but given you that you're a nurse, the doctor's relationship...
Psychologists, more than one, okay, seeking advice and opinions and wanting to know what we could do and stuff like that. In my opinion, this is my opinion, somebody in a profession should have a certain amount of care and concern for their profession in terms of relating to other individuals.
You and your staff are occupied for the course of the day. Now, so let us say for the day I have 10 appointments set up. Okay? The average scenario is that there's a lot of people off the streets who just literally want to get something and run. Okay? Just want to buy something and run. And that's how a lot of people approach their healthcare. They walk in somewhere, buy something and run. So for instance, Saturday's Guardian, the young lady had an interview with a couple and she wrote a story, Sunday's Guardian, she wrote a story. And she spoke about the one method of Tizan and she was a feminist. And I mean, people just rushing off the streets and they want to buy one bottle of Tizan and she was a feminist. They have to know nothing. I mean, they ain't fancy. All I know is that this woman used this thing and it's helped her. And the other thing was that she didn't use 3 bottles of feminist, she used 1 bottle of feminist, 1 bottle of Tizan, but the reporter made a mistake, as is often the case with reporters. Anyhow. So people have been coming to buy this 1 bottle of Tizan and 1 bottle of feminist. They don't want to know what are the potential side effects, if any. They don't know how long they should use it, what they need to be concerned about while using it, right? These things have alcohol, for instance, right? So, what contraindications are possible? They're not concerned about it, they just want to, right? Because there's a kind of frustration on the one hand sometimes. That's part of it, and I understand that part of it. But there's also the part of it where people are not taking sufficient concern about it on the personal level. The average university student, and I've had many who work with me over the years, the average university student, for instance, comes out of university, don't even know black sages. Most common roadside weed in Trinidad. One of the most common roadside weed in Trinidad. And they come out with a certain amount of expectations and are unwilling to make the adjustments of a workplace situation. Okay. You invest in training them, and then they get a so-called proper job. So it's inevitably they move on. In some instances, I've actually had to get jobs for my employees who were graduates because they were kind of hindering my own progress. Because I know that they would leave in any instance, but at the time I may hire them. So I actually sometimes get jobs for them even. So there's a finding the level of staffing in terms of training. People must have that desire. And they must have that desire. I'm not talking about in the context of wanting to come to work with me to be trained, because I don't have to train you. Your training, I can't forget my business, in other words, to train you. The training has to be an ongoing process, you know? And there are critical things that people tend to overlook. And I often say that my employees don't really like me. For the reason that, no, it's a fact. I'm not well liked by my employees generally, because there are certain things I stick for. And little details I can tell you really, I stick with, because I always say people's health is involved. And if the slightest thing goes wrong, I hold myself responsible, right? And I always give examples in terms of the herbs themselves, where one plant may be poisonous and another plant may be quite safe, and they may resemble each other. So that you have to be always, you can't just take things for granted. You can't, it's easy for instance for employees to think when they can come to work and they can do the work and be chatting. I always see your attention if you focus on what you're doing, And these kind of tendencies, that on average you take for granted. You need to practice a certain amount of discipline in relation to dealing with herbs and in health in general. Okay? You can't be preparing medicines, for instance, to people, and not really be paying attention. You can't even cook food for people and not pay attention. I mean, I always tell my mother, for instance, when I go and say, today I was watching Young Restless. You know, you can't watch when she watches TV. Because the food is different. I mean, I'm sure you all know about that. Those are, you have never experienced that, the food is different according to where your attention is. You married? Yeah. I should ask you these personal questions. I'm only asking in the context of if the husband knows. Huh?
No, my food is usually cooked before that.
So you have full attention.
So I'm hungry or not.
Where's the spiritual thing? Yes.
So I'm hungry or not.
Okay, you wanna have something to eat? Huh? Okay, yeah. What you really call it a spiritual thing? Yes, preparation of food is a spiritual thing. I mean, very often we call it spiritual activity as the activity of going to church or giving charity and this sort of thing. But preparing food is a spiritual activity. In the context of you're serving, you're preparing something to serve for another person, right? And your attention needs to be there with it, you know. So people will cook, you know. People will cook and the food will taste different. You can know that if I go into any restaurant and the cooks are not happy, I get that because of how the food is. You know. No, you pick it up very easily. If you go into any kind of establishment, you know, and the food isn't tasting, you know that the cook is not happy. Because if a cook is really happy, when he's finished, that food tastes good. Right? She's happy with the food tastes good. Yes. Religion, I don't discuss any religion. It tends to get things sidetracked, you know. My religion is to serve all of mankind. Yeah. But that is something, I mean, you could check it out. I mean, don't take what I'm saying. Don't accept that what I'm saying is true. I'm just saying that based on my experience, that is what I have found. So, for instance, I train employees in terms of preparing some of the products. And very often, customers would know the difference themselves. When I make something, I think when an employee makes it. Okay? When I see on the streets, for instance, there's a man who wanted something desperate, you know, I'm on the streets, I couldn't leave to go and get him. So I sent someone to do it, you know, I told them all the procedures that I would follow. And of course they went and they started follow all the procedures. And I brought him and said, man, I'm asking John the first days, he said, you didn't make it. You know? While they're abroad and they're would have to make medicine sometimes, and you know, people would say, you know, the medicine you're buying and it wasn't me, I was making it, you know? I often say that, you know, it's not empirical science. The herbal medicine thing is not an empirical science, it's a healing art. And there's a lot that goes with it, a lot of attention has to be put into what you're doing. And I mean, I've had experiences over and over again that has more or less convinced me of that, you know. A very particular thing, for instance, when you're preparing medicines is in actually boiling these things. How long do you boil these things, you know? Very often people ask questions like this, how much time do you take in boiling these things? So they want a recipe, for instance, boil it for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so on. And what I've often found is not so much how long you boil it, but being present when it's being prepared so you can know when it's ready. When you boil these things and it's really ready, the smell changes. You know?
But I think that's also a spiritual thing.
Well, that is a spiritual thing. Yeah.
So not everybody could.
Well, it is a spiritual thing. You know? But I've always tried to avoid, you know, what is spiritual? People like to have all kind of ideas as to what is spiritual. Which may not necessarily be right. You know what I'm saying? You know, so very often they associate spirituality with religion, for instance, which is religion and spirituality are two different things together. You know, you can go to church and not necessarily spiritual. Okay, but that happens, and you have to know when it, you know, because if that's too much air bubbles, for instance, or too little. If you boil 5 minutes too much or 5 minutes too little, the quality of the product and how long it will last is much different. You're looking at the balance between the air, the water, and all the different qualities in the product. And you know, I'm convinced about that. You know, don't worry about it. Very often when I go out into the countryside interviewing old women, for instance, and old men, and I would ask them, well, what dosage do you recommend in preparing a particular product? They would say, use your discretion. Right? Now the fact of the matter is that they have been doing this all their lives. So they know how to use their discretion in relation to preparing it. So what they're really saying is that you have to know by experience. Now unless you are growing up and living around that environment, you don't know what discretion to use. So you can go there and pull out a fruit, a whole...
Well, let me make these medicines, don't make it on their own.
Let me say don't make it on their own.
They have something to come from.
Let me say on their own.
They have a gift.
Let me say a gift, continue.
You know.
But I may know, but I will not to me.
So what they will give for one person for the same condition,
that is
same.
that is quite true.
Right.
That is quite very, very true.
That's why because they use discretion. So if you will give this to do, you will, you know.
Well, that's quite true. But you see, I am doing it because I am documenting. So I have to use a format. But I understand what they mean. You know?
Because I think that is not everybody. You have a certain call. You going off the beaten track. I mean, people in your area, so they say a lot of them go through probably formatting, do what is expected of them because they want a certain lifestyle. And you go in this part and probably that's your call and you have that burn that the average person doesn't have.
You burn yourself?
Burn you
the burn. Okay, yeah.
So you know, and it's unique to you. So probably that's your gift, your calling.
Yeah. Yeah, well, of course, because different experiences. Actually, when I was younger, I used to always think about vision. You read the newspaper articles and they say they have a vision. They get that gift from God and all these things. I used to find that kind of facetious myself. But actually, quite ironically, and it's not something I often say to people, but when I just started business, as a full-time activity, when I said this is what I'm going to do, I recall I actually had a vision, and certain things were actually revealed to me in this vision. And in a particular way, having had that vision, it has allowed me to persevere in spite of all sorts of circumstances. Because very often, the bad situation is the one that creates the turning point, and things like these were clearly seen when I had that vision. So I understand what she means, and I understand what other people mean when they say that they have a gift and all of that. But the thing is, everybody can around say they have a gift, So how you know more about a gift and who doesn't, But there is that aspect to it, and I guess that would interest you in terms of what you're doing, because you meet people, saying like, they wake up. I mean, sometimes people come to the shop, for instance, and they will tell me they dreamt something. Sometimes people will tell me something they dream, and they will describe a bottle of medicine in the shop actually, and they will dream that, and I am amazed, I'll be in the streets and people come and wherever they come from and they dream this particular thing, this man on the street with this red butter, and these kind of things, and they come for that. Or they may dream a particular bush, and I may have gone in the bush this Sunday and collected some of that, not that I would need it. I just there and I saw it and I said, I'll bring some of that, and ever so often I run into these kind of things, So, in many respects, I too am like the doctor and this lady, in the context of that I'm at my wit's end sometimes from a different point of view. That I don't quite know how some of these things work, which ties into the question, like, was it you asked about the chemistry and all of these things? Yeah, because I don't bother about the chemistry too much. I have information, so if somebody wants information, they can access information. But after I was at university, I actually had an offer of doing a scholarship in chemistry. I had a scholarship of chemistry, and I knew inside that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do with the plants. I didn't want any scholarship for the chemistry. I need to learn more about the plants, And seasons. Likewise, some seasons plants may be more effective than other seasons.
That was for a lot of knowledge.
Well, I think it was for not knowledge so much as insight. Yeah. It was
so you involved in like extracting certain things out of the plants.
You mean like the biochemical?
When you prepare your
my products are all crude extracts. They're all crude extracts,
Meaning?
They look like this, or like this. There are things that are boiled or soaked in alcohol or whatever, but they haven't gone through a lab in the context of the way these things have been processed. They're very crude extracts. So you get from the plant just what the plant has.
No, but I was thinking in terms of, like you said, a particular leaf, right? They have, it might be good for one thing, but then there might be certain poison in it, so that you may need, if it is that the client needs it, you may need to have to extract something from the plant because you need this particular thing and not this.
Yeah.
It's not involved in your...
What I do, I have a training in chemistry as well, that's what I said. And I gather as much as I could. I am a collector of books and information on herbal medicines, so that I will be familiar with what is poisonous and what is not. And I will look at the whole spectrum of plants, right? And in preparing a particular medicines, I will look at the plants that are the medium range. So that you're not looking, you see, some things may be more effective, but they are more toxins, right? So I try to avoid these plants. I'll give a simple example. There's a herb called wild onion. I guess some of you are probably familiar with it, right? Wild onion is very, very good at children and asthma. Okay? But I would not normally recommend wild onion.